I know, I look like shit. It's almost 8 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up to a text that whipped me into a righteous fury today. So consider this my moist critical style video. I woke up to a text from a friend today that just said, "I'm sorry." Now, that worries me because I don't have people who just say, "I'm sorry," come to me often, especially since this person had done nothing wrong. So I asked him, "Hey, what's up? What's going on? What are you apologizing for?" And I get back, "I'm sorry for being bad and taking up space." Now that is what pissed me off, because nobody should ever feel like that. All right. I've been trying to figure out a video topic for a while. Not what it should be, but how to go about making the video on it. And that topic is society's swing from a cooperative society to strongly independent, and now how we're swinging back to cooperative, but it's maladjusted. And I'll get to that video. But this was a good chance for me to sit down and talk about this and make a quick video, because I want to take off all the production and the glitz and the glamour and the masks real quick. I'm always real with you guys on this channel, and I make sure that I don't hide much of myself, because I don't like doing that. But there is still a veneer. I smile, I laugh, I always make sure that even when I'm not feeling up to it, when I don't really want to be streaming, I still make sure that there's energy, because I don't want you guys to feel like I don't like doing this, because I do. And beyond that, who is beyond that? So, if you know me from Pirates, and you've listened to Howling into the Void, or you've just talked to me one-on-one for a while, you know I describe as an anarchist, specifically a tribal anarchist. And I've gone into what that means vaguely, but ultimately, what I believe is that humans don't need a central ruling body, because that's way too easy to corrupt. But deeper than that, what I believe is that humans aren't meant to just work all their lives. We don't have to justify our existence by being productive and making a product and constantly creating capital, because capital is made up. There is no money in nature. You've never seen an animal just exchange money for a goods or service, because that's not how that works. Go watch any social animal. They help the pack, the pride, whatever you want to call it, whatever animal you're studying. They help the group, because that's how they survive. That's what they do. That's how they thrive. That's how they keep going. And we're no different. We're just a different type of animal. We've just made sure that our sounds we understand, just like lions and felines have their subvocal communication. Wolves and dogs have howling and barks. That's all talking is. It's just our sounds that we understand with each other. Okay? And just like other animals, we have dialects, we have other languages, so do other animals. Point being, when it gets down to it, a human being should enjoy life. We're built to find things that we enjoy. We need that dopamine hit. We get lonely and depressed if we're cut off from a group, if we don't have enrichment. Just like any other animal. There's no such thing as an actual solitary animal. So, I believe that humans should help each other out of the goodness of their hearts. And I believe that anybody who makes you think that you take up space and that you have to justify your existence, that you have to have some sort of product you create, or that you have to make tremendous amounts of money in order for them to believe that you have a purpose in life, is an asshole. I believe that that person is not human, and that you shouldn't care about anything that comes out of that person's mouth. That person does not deserve your presence or any of your time, because no one has to justify their existence. Now, let me clarify this. I am not a pacifist. I am not an all-loving type of person. I don't do live and let live. I do a very simple find your tribe, vibe with your tribe. If they don't vibe, they're not tribe. If they're not tribe, don't worry about them. Let them go off, let them do their own thing. But there are exceptions, because I don't do, kitty touchers. I don't do Nazis. I believe that those people should be immediately wiped out of existence. And I don't care if that gets this video flagged or demonetized or whatever, because that's my opinion, and I'm going to say it. Now, I'm not going to be advertiser friendly. In fact, that's another thing that's been pissing me off, is us changing our language so that we can be advertiser friendly. So let me say this really slow so everybody can understand it. Fuck terms like unalive. Okay? Fuck terms like grape. Being scared of a word is how we give words power. Being afraid to say a word because some controlling body says that we can't is how words continue to hurt and ravage. Now, am I saying that slurs are only hurtful because someone says they are? No, not at all. What I am saying is that we can't explain why they hurt. We can't explain why they're bad. We can't explain why we shouldn't use them if we're afraid to say the word. It's 12-year-old logic. I'm back, we all know the Halo lobbies, Halo voice chat. It's a meme. It's been a meme since Halo came out. So why do people say shit like that? Because it makes people uncomfortable. And when people are uncomfortable, it makes you feel like you have power. And when you feel like you have power, it feels good and you want to keep it. And if you know that by saying a word, you can make people uncomfortable enough to tell you to stop, to kick you out of a place, just because you said a word, whether you mean it or not, yeah, you're going to use it. That's how that works. But if we can go into the history and explain why that word is bad, how it was used to keep people down, to separate other humans and make them less than human in people's eyes, then we can start getting into why shouldn't we say it? Why should we avoid things like this in the future? And I've gone off topic, and I don't really care how long this video is, because I want to make more standalones, and this one is just one that I got irritated and I knew I had to talk about it. But we're just going to keep going. So, something that I think needs to change is this constant running away from topics. Both sides do it. I'm American. We make everything about, us versus them, Democrat, Republican, whatever. Even if I don't believe in the political system, I know people are gonna push it into a binary, because that's what we do. We make everything extremes, and we always push away from the issue. We don't want to deal with the issue itself. We want to make it an issue about, oh no, that's what those people are doing. That's what they believe. And they're wrong, so we have to be right. No. No. That's not how this works. Alright? People need to learn how to talk. And they need to learn how to respect each other's opinions and listen to people who don't agree with them so that we can advance. Alright? And am I saying that there's not people that do that? No. Am I saying that if we all listened and sang Kumbaya, we'd have some super advanced society? No. Because it's not going to happen. It's just human nature. We're never going to come together over everything. Because we're always going to have people who just want to push into your tribe and force their beliefs onto your tribe. Or you're going to have people in your tribe who think that your tribe should push their beliefs on other people. Get rid of them. You don't need that stress. Okay? You need people who are going to help your tribe thrive, support them, listen to them, give them attention, affection, positive things. Alright, that's why I do what I do. I feel good by making other people feel good. And that's been said a lot by a lot of people. But I does that change anything? No. If I can make people laugh and I can make them smile, that makes me feel good. And I want to feel good, and I want to make them feel good. So we're going to make a place that does it. We're going to make a place that makes it easy. Not easy. That enables me to do that. And that's what the Den is. That's what I've always wanted the Den to be. When I started YouTube, I didn't start it because I wanted it to be a job. I always thought if I could make it a job, that would be amazing. But let's be honest, with the state of YouTube right now, with the crap that I have to do and the hoops I have to jump through just to be considered for a partnership, just to be considered for getting a payout, which by the way is cents. It's not dollars. You make cents off of every ad and every video. The amount of crap I have to go through just to be considered for that, I don't want to do it for money anymore. I want to do it for the love of it. And if I make money off of it, or I make money because people decide they want to support me through Patreon or any of that shit, that's a bonus. Okay? If you've been watching Backtracking, you know that I'm currently in a state where pretty much any job that involves labor is going to drive me into disability pretty damn quick. But I can't get labeled disabled because nobody wants to take it seriously. You know, I mean, I asked, this is a story I don't know if I went into, but I'm going to tell it again. I asked a couple years back, specifically, if I could be tested for bipolar, clinical depression, and adult ADHD, because I have a family history of all of those. Specifically, I've been told that I was tested and diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but that I was never medicated, and that they just used caffeine as a curb or whatever in order to control it. They use the caffeine. So the problem with that is that gave me a massive sugar and caffeine addiction, so that raises the risk of diabetes, which by the way I also have a family history of. Luckily I'm still in the norm right now, but I asked it to be tested for those three things specifically. And they sent me to a behavioral therapist. Not a psychiatrist, not a psychologist, not not what you think of when you think therapist. They sent me to a behavioral therapist. And this woman had the audacity, the sheer nerve, to ask me about my job, my living conditions, and my relationship status. And when I told her that I was currently working at a shelter making $2,400 a month, and I was, and still am, living in my parents' basement, luckily not being made to pay rent, and that I was in a relationship, she told me, and I quote, "You can't be depressed. You have a wonderful life. You just have no coping skills." That's bullshit. I asked specifically to be tested for bipolar, depression, and ADHD because of a family history. That's not me faking. That's not me wanting drugs. That is because I know I am at risk, and I would like to see if there's a chance I have inherited any of those. But this woman didn't want to do it. She wanted to take the easy way out. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're going to just make that a blanket statement. My insurance didn't want to worry about going through that testing. They didn't want to have to pay for it. They didn't want to have to pay for any medication that might have been done. And I'm sick of that. I don't know what to do when it comes to this bullshit anymore, because that's what makes me think the way I think. That's what makes me believe in this tribal anarchy system. You look around every day, you see people struggling, you see people with legitimate problems asking for help, and people don't want to deal with it. They would rather look away, push it on someone else, and then when this problem gets to be to the point that it's hurting our society and costing us resources and our so precious money, are they going to do something about it? Are they going to fix the problem? Are they going to admit they were wrong and that something needs to be done? No, they're going to blame it on someone else. That homeless person you passed on the bridge, nah, they can't possibly have anything wrong in their life. Couldn't possibly be some circumstance that prevents them from living a life just like you do. No, they have to be lazy. They don't want to work. They have a drug problem. What's that say about you as a person, if that's your first thought? Now again, I worked at a homeless shelter. Have I seen lazy people who don't want to get a job? Yes. Have I seen people with a drug problem who just don't want to get into rehab because they'd rather be on the drugs? Yes. Have I seen people who, worse than all of that, know that that's the problem and they just want to live off the system because they don't want to have to deal with anything else, and because, you know, they believe that the shelter will pay for their rent and all of that for months and months, and all of that's tax-free income? Yes. Am I a little more cynical about homeless people when I see them? Or people just coming up to me on the street asking for money, saying, hey, you know, I don't have a job and I just need $5 for food? Yes. I'm never going to claim to be a saint. I'm not a paragon of anything. I am blameless. And I'm not saying that my point of view is the correct point of view, or you know, how it is. What I am saying is that I think we all need to be a little nicer to each other, a little less critical of things. And that anybody who tells you that you have to justify your existence, that you have to produce something with the little time you have here on Earth, is an asshole. And you don't need to worry about them. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to justify having been brought into existence. You didn't ask to be brought into existence. And in certain situations, you didn't ask to be with that person. People need to understand that when you have a kid, or when you adopt, or just when you enter into a space with other people, that's your choice. You've chosen to increase the size of your tribe. And if you get angry because that person doesn't believe the same things you believe, or doesn't do what you think they should do, or God forbid, has some sort of disability or, you know, some sort of difficulty, impairment that prevents them from living life exactly the way that you think should be done, and your first reaction is to call them lazy or a waste of space or a liar, you need to go fuck yourself. You need to step back, look at your own life, and ask yourself, what are you doing to help? What are you doing to make this place better? If you look at a person and you think the worst in them, that they're just lazy or that they take up space, especially if you chose them to be there. If that's your kid, regardless if it's by blood or adoption, that kid didn't choose to be here. You chose to have that kid. And now you're going to sit there and say they're a waste of space and a waste of time and that you're burning money and that you regret. Yeah, you know what? I regret that you are a person who can't just accept their own choice. And I'm softening this. I'm being very, very softball with what I'm saying. And that's about it. Bye, guys.